Welcome to this session of our Safety for All series. I'm Sarah Napoli, and for the last 11 years, I have had the pleasure of serving as the CEO of the San Diego Police Foundation, a nonprofit that supports our men and women in blue and works to enhance police-community relations. Our topic today is Women in Blue, which gets to the heart of some very important values of our police department: diversity, equity, and inclusion. Our theme is Leadership Knows No Gender. We could not provide this educational series without the help of generous individuals and organizations. So let me begin with a shout out to our major sponsors, Adriana and Cristiano Amon, Qualcomm, Barbie and Dan Spinazzola, Securitas USA San Diego, and VCA Animal Hospitals. The special benefactor of today's program is SDG&E, focusing on diversity, equity, and inclusion to improve opportunity for all San Diegans and make our community a better and safer place. SDG&E has been a generous sponsor of the Women in Blue movement for many years and is our key sponsor for this session of our Safety for All series. Thank you, SDG&E. During our time together today, we will look back at the past, present, and future of Women in Blue. Please type your questions into the chat feature throughout our presentation. We will have a live Q&A at the end of the program and answer as many of your questions as possible. Now let's take a look back at the history of Women in Blue. Women have served in law enforcement in America since the 1800s in various roles. SDPD hired Lucille Girardeau in 1917 as a policewoman to patrol La Jolla. As with many other occupations usually pursued by men, war and economic pressures created a need for more police, and women were given the chance to serve. Though female officers had badges just like their male counterparts, female officers wore skirts as part of their uniform. In fact, they were not issued the same uniform as males until decades later. As is the case in so many areas of social progress, just getting hired was not the only hurdle women faced. In 1981, a female sergeant at SDPD was quoted in the San Diego Union as saying she thought it would take 30 or 40 years for women to achieve equal status with men in policing.
When I first started in law enforcement, it was a really different experience than the one today. I faced some challenges as a female leader in this organization and even as an officer. They were not afraid to say in those days that they really didn't want to work with a female. I can tell you more than one radio call that I went out on that the person I was interacting with would ask me as a supervisor to bring the real sergeant to the scene. You know, we're going back more than 30 years, I want to say, but I was able to find myself as a leader, and I would just say, well, unfortunately for you today, you got me. I'm all you're gonna get as a supervisor, so either I can stay here and help you problem solve whatever the issue was, or I can get in my car and drive away. Things have changed. I think people in general have changed, and there's much more inclusion and acceptance in the workplace. We're very positive about the future. We're very excited about what we see in the community and the opportunities that are presented to us. So we feel very good about what's happening here, and we're very proud of that. It's important to have women in leadership roles, I will say, in any organization, not just here at the police department. You wouldn't put a baseball team together and have only pitchers. It just makes sense that you need diversity. You need all different kinds of thinkers and problem solvers.
That's one of my main priorities, is really getting a police department that mirrors what the community that we serve looks like. And so we've been making it a very big priority to bring more diversity in this department, to include more women. And that's one of the goals. I think we're right about 70% of women on this department. Obviously, I want that to be higher, but when I look across the nation of percentages compared to us, we're definitely about probably 5-6% higher than most departments, but obviously we do want to increase that. The goal is to have 30% officers that are women on the department by 2030. Having women leadership seminars, holding special recruiting events solely for women, so they can feel comfortable, they can meet some of their soon-to-be peers, and obviously talk to women and get their real life experience of what it was like going through the academy, going through the process.
We're able to talk to people one-on-one. They can see us, they can see what we're about, and we can help them see that the women can have it all. You can have a family, you can have a career in SWAT, you can be on the K-9 unit, you can do whatever you want to do, and it's really important for people to be able to see it so they can be it. The recruitment and the retention that's going on here at SDPD is like the best in the nation, in my opinion. Our union is helping us getting a daycare going at one of our divisions where we'll partner with a community member to provide daycare at a much reduced cost at hours that are much more conducive to working patrol. Mind-blowing. That is the kind of support that families need.
We put a lot of investment into all of the officers coming on the department, so anything that we can do to provide more resources to make it easier for women to stay in the job is obviously something that we're going to do.
I'm Jason Sue. I'm a sergeant with the San Diego Police Department. I've been on the department for 13 and a half years. My first experience having a woman in a leadership role for me was just being a member of the SWAT team, where Captain Tina Williams, who was a lieutenant at the time, so she was in charge of a unit. Honestly, it was just all males except for her. We never looked at her as a female per se, right? We just looked at her as a great leader who was respectful, who was fair, extremely knowledgeable, someone that we can trust to make the right decision. Men and women are different when it comes to a lot of their perspectives and values. So of course, if we can look at different situations from multiple angles, we can come up with maybe the best solution possible.
Now let's hear the stories of some of the women in blue the Police Foundation has honored over the past decade.
I am Esmeralda Tagabon. I am with the San Diego Police Department.
My name is Misty Cedrin, and I'm a lieutenant with the San Diego Police Department.
I'm Detective Sarah Johnson, and I work for the San Diego Police Department. Putting on a uniform every day, you have to have courage because, this is a dangerous job. You can walk out of your door one day and not come home.
Courage means being afraid and still doing what you need to do.
The courage is coming back and doing it all over again because the cases don't stop, and to continue to investigate them and continue to have optimism about humanity, that takes courage. I'm the Academy Coordinator, and I'm in charge of 4 to 5 training officers who train the recruits.
I've always helped coach and mentor people and helped them throughout my positions in the department to help them promote if they want to do that. So this job as the LDU lieutenant, I'm able to now do that full time, which has been extraordinary.
Now I'm in backgrounds investigation, and this is my passion. This is where I want to retire at, knowing that I'm giving someone else the same career that I've had for so many years.
When I first came on, I loved it. I had a great squad. I mean, people who right now are really good mentors, really good role models. I was lucky that I fell into a squad of people who were just excellent patrol officers who really liked what they did.
I love my job. Some people say that they have bad days and good days going to work, but I have to honestly say, working with the people that I've worked with over my career, that I haven't had bad days.
I don't really think that the job is different for men and women. I think that we just bring different things to the job. And I don't want to say that one gender is better at the job than the other, because I think that we synergistically work together as a very cohesive team.
If there was anyone that inspired me to this day, was my mother. She said, just because you're poor doesn't mean that you don't have a voice and you can't stand up for yourself. Give it your all at all times. That really inspired me to get into a profession of helping others.
The woman in my life that inspired me was my mother. She had 8 kids, 4 boys, 4 girls. We had a very large family. Going into law enforcement, I believe, was the turning point in my life to make me the person who I am today. In my mind, I said, if I can just change one life, I feel like I've done my job.
When you get justice for that person, it's a feeling that you can't describe.
I am as happy today, 25 years later, as I was when I graduated from the police academy. It was the best decision I made. It took a lot of courage to leave that safe job. So here's my one shameless plug for SDPD. If you're watching this and you happen to think, gosh, maybe I'd like something different, you can do it too. I did it at 30, so join SDPD.
As you just saw, we have dedicated, smart women with tons of leadership serving at SDPD. Now let's see how smart you are. The first question is, when was the first policewoman hired by SDPD? What year? Take your best guess. Here's another question for you. Today, what percentage of SDPD police officers are female? We will provide the answers a little later, but now let's meet more of our past Women in Blue honorees.
My name is Susan Rayhouse. I'm a detective with the San Diego Police Department. I've been with the police department for 29 years, and I am currently assigned to the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, where we investigate online predators.
Hello, I'm Margaret Mendez, and I'm the Police Records Administrator for the San Diego Police Department. I've worked here for the past 16 years, and I'm the commanding officer, a civilian equivalent to a captain, with the commanding officer of the Human Resources Division.
First, I'd like to say hi to both of them, Margaret and Susan. And if I were here, I'd give you a big hug. Mwah! And a kiss, too.
I think the key to overcoming fear, being courageous, would be just getting up and doing it. Everybody's afraid to do everything, different things. You just have to get up and do it. You have to know what your purpose is, and just know that you're meant to do that.
I think you just have to decide what can you live with, and what is the consequence if you don't take that step and say something or do something. If you don't do that, how are you going to feel about yourself? How are you going to live with yourself?
For all the girls, I would say know what you want to do, know what your path is. You may not know exactly how to get there, but you got to know what you want to do in your heart. Whether that's being a pediatrician, whether that's being a vet, a veterinarian, whether you want to go into the military or be a police officer. You just have to know what it is that you want to do, and don't let anybody tell you you can't do it.
I think it's a shame for anyone to go through their life not having the courage to try different things, new things that they're interested in. Because life is very short, and you don't want to waste any opportunities that come your way because of internal negative feedback that you're giving yourself, that maybe I'm not good enough, maybe I'm too old, maybe I'm too whatever, or any feedback you're getting externally from others that make you give up an opportunity that you're really interested in. Life is too short, and there's lots of opportunities, especially in today's world, for women and young men to do anything they're interested in if they put their minds to it.
If I were to say to the city, my city, about the San Diego Police Department, is that we got your back. We're here for you, and we really do care for our citizens. We go out every day not knowing if we're going to go home to our own families, and we do that because we know our calling is to protect our city. and that's why we get up every day and go to work.
Even though they're in a uniform and they're enforcing laws, and sometimes that's difficult for citizens to see when they're in the middle of a difficult situation, these are people that have families and aspirations, and they're trying to do the right thing.
I would want the community to know that we care about them, we put our lives on the line for them, and anything they can do to support us, and in turn, we want to do anything for them. We come to work every day to keep San Diegans safe.
Hi, I'm Giovanna DeRose, San Diego Police Department, and leadership to me means strength, perseverance, and humanity.
Hi, my name is Carly Rebezzo, and I'm a SWAT officer with the San Diego Police Department. And leadership means to me doing the right thing and the hardest thing when no one's there, so you can set an example for everyone with the results that you have.
My name is Officer Akila Costin, and I work with the Homeless Outreach Team. And leadership means to me three things: resilience, dedication, and integrity. As a leader, you have to have all three of those qualities in order to solve complex goals, in order to protect the people that work for you or you work around, and to hold yourself to a high standard.
My name is Misty Sedrin, and I'm a recently retired San Diego Police Lieutenant. I retired in 2020, right during COVID. It's being put into a position where you're responsible for something and someone, whether it's maybe just a few people, or it's a whole unit, or it's a whole division. So for me, it was always being responsible to say, what does my commanding officer want, and then being able to execute that for them. And then it's always making sure that you take care of the people that you are responsible for leading and supervising.
Hi, my name is Julie Epperson. I've been with the San Diego Police Department for 27 years. I'm currently a lieutenant overseeing the MAST unit, the Metro Arson Strike Team, our Special Investigations unit, as well as our robbery unit. Leadership to me means being present and showing up for your people. It means really caring for them, not just about how they do at work and aspiring to their career goals and making sure they're happy at work, but also their personal life as well, making sure that things are going well at home, because everything at home affects your work life. And so it's really just caring about them, their entire person.
I'm Lieutenant Andrew Brown with the San Diego Police Department. I've been with the police department over 35 years, and I'm currently one of the homicide lieutenants. To me, leadership is doing the right thing when no one's watching, because someone is always watching. Be present, be available, set the right example, learn from your mistakes, admit your mistakes, look forward to what the next thing is. But I think for me, the biggest part of leadership is being there, being a part, and being accountable.
I'm Sandy Albertson. I'm an assistant chief with San Diego Police Department. What leadership means to me is exactly what we're doing here today. Supporting people, supporting the community, showing up and being real. And that happens in the business community, it happens in public safety, it happens with your friends, neighbors, and your loved ones. So be real, show up, and be a leader.
Yes, clearly, leadership knows no gender. As promised, we will provide the answers to our poll questions, and we'll do that now. When was SDPD's first policewoman hired? If you chose 1917, you were right. What percentage of women now serve as police officers at SDPD? 17% is the correct answer. This is a proud accomplishment since it leads the nation, but we still have a ways to go. To pursue the ideal of our police force reflecting the demographics of the community it serves, SDPD would have to reach 46.5% female police officers. In a bold effort to move towards that goal, Chief Nislight has embraced the National 30 for 30 initiative to have the sworn personnel at SDPD reach 30% by the year 2030. Programs created by SDPD to support this move include the just-launched Women's Hiring Expo, appealing to female community members to consider a career as police officers. Another example is the quarterly Women's Leadership Conference, now in its third year. Its mission is to connect through conversation, inspire with storytelling, and foster mentorship by building lasting relationships. This peer mentoring program is just a key example of forward thinking in promoting gender diversity at SDPD and the ascendance of women leaders. I hope you've enjoyed this look at our Women in Blue. Next month, we will present another session of Safety for All. Safety is such a basic need. All humans crave it. Yet we tend to take it for granted until it is threatened. In the past year, both our health and safety have been threatened. So perhaps we have realized how fundamental these essentials are. If you would like to support our efforts to create a safer San Diego, a gift of any size is warmly welcomed at sdpolicefoundation.org. Thank you again to our sponsors and our Safety for All champions. Follow us on social media, tell your friends, and please join us for our next session. Hello again and welcome back. As you know, I'm Sarah Napoli and serve as the President and CEO of the San Diego Police Foundation. And we are now in our live Q&A, and we have a true expert, a real true woman in blue, none other than Assistant Chief Sandra Albrechtsen. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Sarah.
So glad to have you here.
Thank you.
We have questions from the audience. Some of you have typed them into the chat. We've captured them on cue cards, and so you'll see me looking over to see what's coming up next. And others of you provided them ahead of time during our registration period, so thank you for that. And our topic, of course, continues to be Women in Blue. What's it like to be a female police officer?
Being a female police officer has been an amazing journey for me. There are challenges, but with all those challenges come opportunities, and I've had amazing opportunities. And I still think it's a little bit of an unexpected role for women. So those are some of those opportunities to move the needle forward.
That's great. And what are the roles available for women at SDPD?
We have many roles available for women. Really, they're no different than the men. So you can work in financial crimes, you can work in vice, you can work in narcotics, you can work with children, you can work with animals. I mean, the roles are endless, Sarah.
Fantastic career opportunities at SDPD for women.
Yes.
What advice would you give to women who want to become police officers?
The biggest piece of advice I would give women is to reach out to one of our recruiters. They can give you all the ins and outs of the things that we're looking for, but in a nutshell, you have to lead a clean lifestyle. You have to have, finances in order. You have to be mature. In California, marijuana happens to be legal, not for us. So these are things you need to know, and I believe that's why you really should work with a recruiter so you know what's expected before you apply.
Great, thank you for that. And we had one of our audience members who has a female friend who wants to join, and so those tips will help her with hiring. Now, is there equal pay for female officers?
Great question. I recently read an article where women are not always paid the same amount for the same job. Not so for San Diego PD. We make the same amount. We have the same career opportunities from day one. There is stipends if you speak Spanish, for example, or you have a degree. You can make more money, but as far as the rank and the structure, it's the same for everyone working with San Diego PD, Sarah.
Well, I know our whole audience is glad to hear that. It's what we expected, but
Yes.
we love having that confirmation. Is the training of women SDPD any different than that for men?
Nope. Training is no different. Everything's the same. It's the same training. It's the same equipment. It's the same statewide certification that we have. So no difference at all.
Now, once they get hired, do women in your profession have trouble getting promoted?
No, absolutely not. But I will, be completely transparent. Most of the women that I coach and work with say the biggest challenge is managing the role of sister, wife, mother, and that part of the challenge, because promotional opportunities take time to prepare, and sometimes they struggle with figuring out how to make that time commitment. But beyond that, once they test, they tend to do extremely well.
Good. Another great encouragement for women to
Yes.
get into this profession.
Yes.
What advice do you share with young women entering a profession most often pursued by men?
Another really great question. I think the biggest advice I would give women is that this is a job that really takes a village, making sure that you have tons of support, making sure that you are able to make the full commitment, because it's maybe not exactly like a 9-to-5 job. There's a lot of different types of expectations. For example, shift work, going to court, those types of things. So, making sure that you have the ability to make the full commitment, that would probably be the biggest tip I have for them.
I get it. Great. Well, this next question, I believe, is directly about you personally. And so we want to ask Chief Albrechtsen, what unique qualities do you bring to SDPD as a female?
I don't think personally I have any unique qualities, but my husband did say this morning that I was a superhero, Sarah. But that's only because I figured out that, he sneaks around behind my back and buys new golf clubs. But I don't really think that qualifies as a unique quality. But my ability to connect with people and my ability for them to see that the care for the community, the care for the officers, on all sides, both internal and external, I think is probably the biggest quality that I bring to the table.
And you do have superpowers, too. I know that for sure.
Surely not.
What concerns, if any, did your family and friends have when you told them that you wanted to be a police officer?
Well, they had a lot of concerns. They were really hoping for a lawyer. So it was quite a letdown to my family that I would not be going on to law school. But I think the biggest concern they had is that, I might get killed. It's a component of the job, service above self, and that's the ultimate potentially service that sometimes does happen in our line of work. So I think they were really afraid for my safety, but once I came on and they saw that this is my path, they became very supportive.
And we all benefit from that, so I'm glad.
Thank you.
Did you find it hard to compete with male officers during the academy?
I did not. I was very lucky. I come from a fitness background through track and field, and so I was physically able to do many of the challenges, like getting over a 6-foot wall or a dummy drag. So what was great for me is coming with that background of fitness and that competitive nature, I was able to control my emotions, control my breathing, and handle the physical demands, because it is a very physically demanding job.
Indeed. Do you experience resistance when you're called upon to lead men in the job?
Sure. I think every woman out there probably has one of their own stories. So yeah, I have experienced that type of resistance. I've been around a long time. Quite frankly, in the old days, people would be assigned to work with you and they would just tell you directly, I really don't want to work with a woman. Now I think we've come a long way. Obviously, I've been around 39 years. Things have changed. But I do believe there's still people out there. There's subtle resistance. It's really not overt. It's much more subtle. And I think probably a lot of women that are on can relate to that in any type of workplace. So I don't think it's unique to law enforcement, but I wouldn't be telling the truth if I told you it didn't exist. Sure, it exists.
Thank you for that.
Sure.
Here's another one. How do you balance family and family life and shift work?
Oh, family life and shift work can be challenging. I did it by having a big support system. I had neighbors, friends, and I still have a village of people that prop me up and keep me going when I'm feeling too tired. But not being afraid to ask for help when needed, and having those friends. I've had friends 20, 30 years that have helped me a great deal. And of course, the support of my husband, my son, has been a big blessing to me. But that's really, to me, it's a team effort. And so you got to get the team going and deal with what needs to happen.
Truer words were never spoken. Thank you. Mm-hmm. As a female leader, what has been the most significant barrier in your career?
Being a female, to be honest with you. Yeah, that has come with some challenges. I kind of covered it already. Sometimes those challenges are, I think you saw in the video, showing up on a scene as the, the ranking person, and having the person on the other side take a look at me and say, yeah, you're not what I had in mind. And sometimes those were internal challenges. But again, I would say probably every woman has their own story. I'm not unique in that way, but there has been challenges, Sarah.
Mm-hmm. And then this is a question that is a good segue. How has the department assisted you in your career plans?
This department has been amazing. They've always had a culture of mentoring and coaching women. And so this has been my entire career with them, like I mentioned, more than 30 years worth. So I believe that that's maybe unique. Not all departments have that. And I am very lucky that I landed with a department that has seen my potential and fostered that in a variety of ways.
Oh, well, that reminds me, SDPD, always a step ahead,
yes.
Not only in fighting crime, but also in adopting ascendant police practices.
Yes, that's very true.
We're proud. What advice would you give to the next generation of female leaders at SDPD?
The advice that I would give the next female leaders is don't be happy with where we are today. Keep pushing that needle north. Keep, challenging yourself, challenging to grow. We have this initiative 30 by 30 that you've heard about, and I think, why 30? Let's go 40. Let's go 50% women in our line of work. So support each other, love on your sister, don't be competitive with each other, and just keep moving north. That would be my biggest piece of advice for them.
Wow, that is a great finale for what we're talking about. Just one more question today. Okay. What can community members do to support you and other women in blue at SDPD?
Another great question. Thank you for asking that. So what I would recommend is, I get people asking me all the time, what can I do for you? And I think it's very important for the community to educate themselves about the types of things that are going on. And that could be political, that could be with joining the foundation, but being an educated consumer, I think, is critically important. For example, I know during some of the more challenging times, there were people wanting to cut our budget and putting out there that our budget was growing when in fact it was just cost of living. So technically growing, but not really growing. And those are the kinds of things that when you hear a tagline somewhere or read a headline somewhere, maybe you need to take a little deeper dive in what they're talking about, because that was very inaccurate. So those kinds of things I think is critically important to the mission of public safety.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and thank you also for suggesting people join the foundation. You're doing that today by tuning into this live stream, and it's been such a pleasure to have Chief Albrechtsen here. She's such an able leader and an inspiration to us all, and it also has such a big heart, so thank you for that, sharing that with us.
Sure.
We thank the San Diego Police Department for allowing us to take this inside look into Women in Blue. For our next session, coming up next month, we will go back to the 911 call center and see what happens when you call for an emergency. Fascinating thing, and
Sure
of course
is.
we'll also do a Q&A. So stay tuned for that. It's always the fourth Wednesday as we broadcast these series. This is Safety for All. And of course, we thank you, our Safety for All champions, all of our sponsors, and all of you who tuned in. Please join us next time. you.